Welcome back to Fitness Manifesto. I am one of your hosts, Kim, and joining me is
Justin. Welcome to this new show that we've started, which focuses on life, awesomeness, friendship, and fitness as a whole.
Me. Warming up my vocals.
Oh, I remember when I was in high school, you do that like Sally sells, she sells by the seashore, that whole crap. I think we got to do a couple of those.
How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
There you go.
Good one.
See?
She's back. Eric, you're back. And this seems to be
Guess
part
what?
of the course. Yes.
Our internet's connected. We haven't had any problems, and there is nobody here to work on anything.
There will be.
There is not. Justin, bite your tongue.
Knock on wood.
Yes.
Kim and Eric, how are you guys today? Everyone good?
Yeah, doing great. It's
Living the
not
dream.
raining out. It's not raining outside.
The storm last night was so freaking amazing. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm liking all the rain though, really. And it was cool this morning. It felt so good.
Well, I think we have to put it in context, though. We live in Houston, so cool, I think, was like, what, 80?
No, it was in the 70s. Actually, on my watch, it said it was, I think, 68 or 69, but I don't know what the humidity was. It was cool.
Let's get into this here, Eric. So for those gamers out there, you probably don't know this because we've done a good job trying to protect this, but our friend Eric over here, we recorded an entire episode, and not just an episode. I think it was like an hour and 10 minutes long. And unfortunately, there were some issues with it, mostly from Eric, abusive language, just horrible things. And so we decided to have a counseling session, bring him back in, and welcome back, my friend.
Thank you,
We
sir.
had to-
I appreciate you having
we
me
had to
back. Is
bring
this
him-
an intervention?
Yes,
Probably for me.
Yeah. we had to tone down your rhetoric.
I
It's
can do
about
that.
Well, fantastic, dude. Listen, let's dive into this because Eric and I have known each other for almost a year now, and he's got this incredible story about health and wellness. And the best part was in the last episode, he glossed over one, and I want to start with this one in particular because he just kind of dropped it out there like, I had this happen to me. And we're all like, you had what? Because I forgot about it. But if you can lead us today down the path of when you were at Disneyland and or Disney World, I apologize, and that story, because I think it's just such an incredible one. And then I think it's a great catalyst for the rest of your story.
Yeah, absolutely. We were at Disney World. It was January 22, so a little over a year ago. We were at the Hollywood Studios, and we were sitting in the Frozen sing-along. And my Apple Watch goes off. I get an alert that my heart rate is running at an abnormally high level. So I turn it off, and we get out of there, and my wife's like, what's wrong? I said, nothing. My watch, there's something wrong with my watch. My watch is broken. I felt completely fine. At the time, it said I had an abnormally high heart rate. We had a friend with us who had his Apple Watch as well, and he said, well, try it on mine. So I put his on, and it says I've got an abnormally high heart rate. So then I run the little EKG option that they have on the Apple Watch, and it tells me I'm in atrial fibrillation. So we're getting ready to head towards Tower of Terror, and I told the group, I said, you guys go along, take the kids. I'm going to go to the clinic up front and just have them check me out. And sure enough, they checked me out and said, yep, you're an AFib. So called an ambulance, sent me to the hospital, and I spent the next couple of days in the hospital in Orlando. Everybody else stayed at the parks and had a good time. I got to enjoy it from Celebration Hospital.
Do you remember what your heart rate was?
I don't know for sure. I think I got up into the high 180s, 190s, somewhere around there.
Wow.
And again, I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel short of breath, heart flutter. I didn't feel anything. And the doctor was surprised as well. And the doctor said, had you gone on Tower of Terror, you probably would have passed out. So good thing I decided to make the call to go to the clinic instead of that. But yeah, that kind of started me down the path to getting a little bit better.
That's crazy.
How scary, though. So after that happened, what came next?
When I got back, obviously, got with a cardiologist, and they ran stress tests and EKGs and all that good stuff. At the end of the day, the cardiologist said, listen, there's 7 points that we measure for issues like this. And he said, you have one of the 7, basically being overweight. He said, other than that, he said, I think you probably experienced an anomaly that could have been caused from dehydration or lack of sleep or a number of things. They put me on medication, but basically said, hey, you probably want to work on your health and your weight.
Did he tell you how much weight you would need to lose?
No, they didn't touch on that. I think at that point, the point I was at, it was any weight losses, any exercise and weight loss is going to be positive at this point. It's going to help you out.
So, I mean, it's very funny because my brother's a doctor, right? And he's a pain doctor, and he gets a lot of patients that are overweight and that kind of stuff that come in. And there's a lot of stuff in there where you can't really talk about exactly like they'll give you a range. Here's the normal range. Here's the healthy range you should be in. But if he comes in and has like a patient that's 350 pounds, he can't say lose 100 pounds. He's
Right.
let's go on a diet. Let's try to figure something out here. But yeah, very rarely I think of just because we live in such a litigious society and someone can take it the wrong way, even though they're trying to help. I think the ranges and that kind of thing are kind of out the window now. It's just like, hey, you got to lose a little bit of weight and let's see your progress. Is that kind of what happened, I'm assuming?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there was no range given. It was just, I think at that point, it was, we need to get you on the right track. And that's, some exercise and losing weight. So that's kind of where it started. I cut out alcohol, I cut out caffeine. There was exercise, probably not as much as there needed to be, but I was working on little things at a time. As time goes by, you kind of lose that urgency to get better. Right after the AFib, it scares the hell out of you. And so immediately you're like, oh, I'm going to make these changes. And then as the months go by and you realize I haven't gone back into AFib. So the small things that I've done so far are probably helping me. And so I really didn't work harder at that time to get any better than what I'd already done. And it wasn't until December, January of this past year where things really started to change for me. And that's a completely different story that I can go into if you'd like me to.
Please.
And Justin's heard this story. Kim has heard it as well now. But the family was going to be taking a cruise for spring break. There were things on the cruise that my son wanted to do with me, such as, zip lining and some other things that there was a maximum weight limit on there to do that. And I was exceeding that weight limit. So what started it was my son actually came to me one day and harmlessly asked, Dad, when we get on the boat, is it going to turn over? Like, no, buddy, why would it turn over? Well, because you're big. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, I see where you're coming from there, buddy. But this is a big boat, so that's probably not going to happen. And then the discussion about, are you too big to zip line with me? You know what? I am right now, buddy. But you know what? I'm going to get there, and we're going to zip line when we get on that boat. And that's kind of where the next steps started to where I got more serious about it.
When you're dealing with a family member that comes to you like that in earnest, right? Not in desperation, not in anything else, but especially your child, right? Telling you like, I want to spend time with you. I want to do these activities with you. I can't imagine, was it somewhat gut wrenching too, to kind of all of a sudden have that realization and all of a sudden you're like just spawned and move in that direction? Or tell me what was like, what happened at that moment in time? Because it seems like a very powerful one.
That was a huge wake up call. Okay. I know a lot of people that want to better themselves and lose weight and get healthy, and myself included. We say, oh, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. And hey, we'll start next Monday. I know that's a lot of people are famous for Monday morning. I'm starting. And I would do things along the way, but I would do them to an extreme and they would last a very short period of time. I think I'd mentioned to you once before, Justin, that at one point I was like, I'm going to go buy a juicer and I'm just going to juice. And that's how I'm going to lose weight. And my wife's like, you're ridiculous. And because that lasted about 48 hours, maybe, if that. So I would do things to an extreme and then I would fall off. This was really, like you said, a gut punch. It was, it really opened my eyes. And at that point, it really changed the way I was looking at getting healthy and getting better. And that's really where I started on the journey that I'm on right now.
He confronted you and talked to you about this, and you decided that that's exactly what you were going to do as the start of your journey. Mm-hmm. So what did you change first? What habit did you change? Did you start working out or did you work on your eating? What did you switch first?
Yeah, both. I immediately started walking and I immediately changed my eating habits. And it was just little things like cutting out sodas. I'm a Dr. Pepper junkie, like a lot of people are, I'm sure, especially here in Texas. So cutting out sodas. And listen, ever since the AFib a year and a half ago, I will drink alcohol now, but nowhere near to the extent that I would before we went to Disney World. And I don't drink near as much as I used. And I wasn't a big drinker. I wasn't an alcoholic by any stretch of the imagination. But I don't drink near as much now as I used to. So alcohol was cut back considerably. Sodas were cut out. And then making small choices, like when you're going out to eat, little things like splitting a meal with my wife instead of trying to eat, order an appetizer and an entree and trying to eat it all. Before I would eat, it was gluttonous. I would be miserable when I left a restaurant sometimes. So just cutting things like that and being more conscious of what I was doing.
The question I have for you, Eric, because I think this is interesting, is did you notice, because it's been so long since I've changed the way I've eaten, right? I've eaten pretty much the same way my whole life. Did you start feeling better immediately, or was it that gut wrenching? You're like, I'm giving something up. This is really hard. Did you see the results right away? How's that process kind of play out?
You and I had lunch one day and we had a conversation, and I was covering some of these things with you. And, you made the comment to me that you can't just give up everything cold turkey. You got to reward yourself here and there. I think that helped me because I would reward myself here and there with something. And so I wasn't depriving myself completely. And I think that helped a lot. I found it once I started doing it, I found it to be much easier than I anticipated it to be. And once you start making the choices, it just becomes second nature. In the beginning, I'm constantly thinking, okay, God, I got to eat healthy today. What am I going to eat for lunch? What are we going to do for dinner? And you're obsessed and consumed with what the hell am I going to do? I don't do it anymore. Now it's just, if I run through the drive-through, and that's what I do on the way for lunch or something like that, I just order some nuggets instead of ordering a value meal with large fries and a large Dr. Pepper. So little things like that. I don't second guess it anymore. I don't think about it. I don't overthink it. I just do it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, when you were going through this right off the bat, did you already start feeling better as you started cleaning up your diet and kind of changing this way? Or did you notice the effects kind of gradually? Or was it one of those, even after a couple of days, you're like, this is kind of cool?
What I noticed in the beginning was, I mentioned a second ago that I would eat until I was miserable sometimes. And obviously in the beginning, I noticed I wasn't miserable after every meal. I didn't have that bloated feeling. I didn't have heartburn or acid reflux. So those are the things that I noticed initially. And then as you go along, you start to notice other changes in your body. One of the things that I'll say is that you don't notice weight loss immediately. And I think that's probably aggravating for people, or frustrating, when they try to do the right things and then a week or two, and I see memes and jokes about it. Hey, I haven't eaten for a whole week and I only lost 1 pound. You don't notice the weight loss changes immediately, and it takes several weeks to start to notice. I started to notice it in areas like in my wrist and in my neck, but I didn't notice it in my gut. Literally, probably 2 months went by before I started noticing it in my gut. And I know that's a lot of times when people want to lose weight, that's where they want to see the changes immediately. And for me, and probably for a lot of people, you're not going to see it immediately, but you can't get frustrated and give up. You have to stick with it, because then once I started to notice it in my gut, it's just mentally, everything starts to change.
So I want to talk about a success then, because I want to play on that for a second, because you and I had lunch, I don't know, 2-3 weeks ago, and you were so excited because you went to buy a pair of pants, right? We don't need to talk exact sizes here, but you were down to something you hadn't been in almost a decade. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, I'm under 250 for the first time in several years. I'm almost to under 240. And once I get under 240, that'll be the first time I've been under 240. And oh God, man, I don't know. 10 plus years for sure.
Ah, that's badass. I mean, it's got to feel so good, because even when you talk about it now, it's funny because when we were talking 3 weeks ago, you were kind of elated and excited, and even more so than now. And kind of now you're looking at like 240. Well, okay, what's after 240? Like, you can see that you're on the cusp and you're getting ready to go below that. So now I can see your brain, if I'm reading you correctly, you're thinking about the next step. Is that correct?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I've set goals on my phone, my calendar on my phone. I've got goals on, posted every few weeks on where I think I should be based on my average weight loss. And that's the other thing I'll say, Justin, is that the weight loss hasn't been extreme. There are weeks that I may lose 3 pounds, and I'll weigh myself every Monday morning when I get up. And I've got an app on my phone that tracks all that, and it connects to my scale, and it tracks all my weight loss and everything. Okay. And so I'll weigh every Monday morning, but some weeks there's a 3 pound weight loss. Sometimes there's a 1 pound weight loss. I don't get aggravated if I only see a 1 pound weight loss. To me, that's still a positive right now, that I'm going in that right direction. So it hasn't been an extreme weight loss to where it all came off overnight. But yeah, based on that weight loss, I've got goals that I have set on my phone, and I'm trying to stay in track with those goals.
Let's talk about the motivation piece of it then, because you've got the goals you're going for, but it goes beyond goals even, right? You're starting to notice other things. So let's go through. I'd love to hear a little bit more about what you're actually hearing and feeling in terms of, okay, so you're going through this change, you've lost weight, but there's residual effects to that, right? I'm sure you have more energy. You probably feel better overall. Let's go through those, because those to me are the things that people forget, because you were talking earlier about like losing it, right? You want to lose weight in your gut. That's what most people think about, or your legs or your butt or wherever, right? But the other effect is actually probably more rewarding, right? Having those other side effects. So let's talk about what you've noticed in addition to the weight loss, some of the things that have changed in your life.
Energy. You touched on it. A crazy amount of energy just with the small amount of weight. And I don't want to minimize it. It's not a small amount of weight loss, but I still have a long way to go. But just with what I've done so far, crazy amount of energy. Sleeping, I noticed that I sleep better. I wake up more refreshed. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely side effects that you see from this.
So you talked about when you originally got AFib and you got diagnosed with that, right? Having never been through it personally, I noticed you'd mentioned you gave up caffeine, you gave up alcohol for a while, all that kind of stuff. Was that doctor prescribed? What is the typical treatment when you go through that process? Obviously, you gave those things up. Was that something that you decided to do, or was that something your doctor recommended?
No, the alcohol and the caffeine was all me. The doctor obviously said that he would minimize caffeine, and the doctor was like, hey, you don't have to stop this stuff. But I made the choice to stop it at the time. But no, he didn't prescribe it. That just was based on what I read about AFib and that type of things. These are the kind of things that I wanted to change.
It's interesting because to me, those are the things that so many people prize themselves on, though, right? Like I get up in the morning, I have coffee, or I do this, I have a bang throughout the day or whatever. And it's funny that you're experiencing something, and I want everyone to notice this out there, that you're getting residual effects where you don't need that as much. And you've given that stuff up, which is weird to most people, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I reintroduced alcohol several months back, but not near to the extent that I was doing before. I mean, listen, I was a beer drinker before. I can probably count on two hands how many beers I've had in the last year.
Really?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Now I've replaced beer with bourbon or tequila, but again, not to the extent, if we go out to a Mexican restaurant, I may have a margarita, whereas used to, I would have two for sure. Now I may or may not have one at all. So it's just little things like that. And I don't feel like I need the alcohol anymore. I definitely don't need it to have a good time. Where I think, and before when you're going out, it's like, yeah, woohoo, let's go have a drink and have a good time. I don't need that anymore. I don't feel. I'll drink alcohol, I'll drink a margarita or an old fashioned or something like that because I enjoy the taste of it, and sometimes I want one. But other than that, I don't need the alcohol anymore. I don't want the alcohol. It's not necessary. Caffeine, sodas, very minimal. If anything, I will do caffeine in my coffee. And I switch from caffeine to decaffeinated. And my pods for my K-cups for my Keurig, I have both caffeinated and decaffeinated coffee. So some mornings I might have a decaf, some mornings I might have a caffeine if I feel like it.
That's so cool. Because one of the things I do blood tests every couple of months to stay on top of this stuff. That's been like my goal this year, is to understand my body, what's working in there and what's not, so I can improve it in a faster rate. And one of the things that blew me away was I didn't change a whole lot to my diet in the last 3 months, but my original cholesterol was 200 and in February when I took the results, which was pretty high, right? So I took the results sometime last week and they got reported. I met my doctor yesterday. I'm down to 164. I didn't take a statin. I didn't do anything else. And it was very interesting because she's like, how'd you lose 40 points that quickly? And I'm like, well, I just made a few adjustments. And one of the things that I actually gave up was actually caffeine a little bit more. I don't drink a lot, but I pretty much eliminated it altogether and upped my oatmeal intake. And she's like, that's incredible. So It's funny you bring up these stories because just these little tweaks, right? And again, soda. Like you didn't go through and all of a sudden go 100% juice because you would have failed, right? And although juicing is great, it has a lot of sugar. So it gives up, like it's the other antithesis of this, right? That people forget is that you may go on a juice diet, but it's so high in sugar that your body craves other things. And actually, when you come off of it, you're even more hungry because you're not getting the fat and the carbs and the protein that you need. So balancing is the key. And I think, as we talk here about your journey and you talk about this next step, tell us a little bit more about your next kind of milestone that you're going through here and what you're going to do to get there.
So 225 is my next goal on my calendar, on my phone. And I believe that's somewhere around end of June, beginning of July, somewhere around there. And so that's what I'm shooting for. Ultimately, I want to be around 200 by the holidays, the end of the year.
That's exciting. And I love that you're excited, but you're not, almost like the extreme to it where you're saying, I'm going to do this, because especially when you're on a journey, right? If you make it too black and white, I find that you fail. And so you being flexible and saying, look, my goal is to lose 225 by the end of June, early July. You're setting a good time frame. You have a window, but you're not holding to an exact date, anything else, where if you slip a little bit, you still give you a chance to success. And so do you feel that is part of the reason that you're on this cool journey and staying with it is because you're more flexible?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's, I'm not going to the extreme. I haven't gone to the extreme this time. Again, it really is been as easy as just making simple changes, just portion sizes and exercise. I mean, listen, when I say I exercise, it doesn't mean I get out and run a marathon every day. Hey, listen, my goal is if I can get out there and get 8,500 or 10,000 steps in, just walking, that's more than I would have done before. And it's more than I would if I were just sitting on the couch. My son, we got him a new bike for Easter and he wanted to ride bikes. I didn't have a bike. So I went and bought a bike. Now we've been riding bikes together. When we get done here, I'm going to ride my bike up to the sushi place and eat lunch. I never would have done that this time last year. I would have driven to the Chinese buffet. Yeah. So to ride my bike up to the sushi place and eat lunch is just, listen, man, it's just little changes that you make, and you stick with them. You start to see the results, and you don't get frustrated if you don't see the results you want immediately. Yeah, you touched on it, man. If I'm not at 225 at the end of June or the end of July, I'm not going to sweat it. Okay. Because, dude, if I'm at 230, I'm going to be ecstatic.
And you should
if
be.
I'm at 225, I'll be pumped, but I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to keep going.
Well, that's badass. And I'm really excited for you. And I'm excited that you're excited. And so we're going to transition gears here for a second because I want to make us laugh even harder. So I don't know if this was recorded at the beginning or not, but Kim had piped up, there's no issues. Everything is good. Do you recall that, Eric?
I do. Yeah, I do. Everything's going to be good today. Don't have anybody here working on my house.
So I don't know how long ago because I don't have my clock up, but I'm going to say it's probably 15 minutes she's been gone. She's about to join right now, and I think we need to give her a little bit of shit. And let's just place a bet here, okay? For all you gamers out there, I want to see if you'll take me up on this. I'm going to say she will not be able to hear us through her earbuds. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. The question is she going to play with those earbuds for the first couple of minutes before she gives up and goes to computer audio?
And then go back.
And then, yeah.
So there's an over-under here. I like this. Okay, let's do it.
Oh, I heard somebody.
Let's see.
Did you guys drop out?
No, you did. We've been recording literally the entire time.
There was an outage in our area that was unplanned and over 2,500 customers were affected.
Of course. So before you joined, gave you a little bit of shit here because the best thing you said all day was there's no issues. We've got nothing going on. And you literally just...
Oh.
So now are you listening through your earbuds? Because that was a question we had.
Yes.
Eric, I think we lost.
All right. So listen, so you want me to come back next Wednesday and do this again, Justin?
Oh my gosh.
No. We're going to keep going because we got great stuff. We're going to pick it up from where we were because actually you left at a perfect time, Kim, because he was talking and all of a sudden you disappeared and I could pick it up. Whereas last time you were literally coming and going. Well, you'd be asking a question, it'd be fading in and out. And then you'd be like, hey guys, can you hear me? We're like, what?
That is so aggravating. Technology is supposed to make it easier, right?
So let's talk about technology here for a sec, because I think this is the part that blew me away last time. And I've seen it in movies and I really don't look forward to ever having this done. But when you go into AFib to get your heart back, you get the paddles. Is that correct?
They do shock you. Not with paddles, but they do shock you.
Oh, then walk us through. So I thought it was paddles. Walk us through, because I mean, this is the part that, first of all, do they shave you? Because I know that you're already a very hairless man, but do they shave you to do this or no?
They did shave. Yeah, they did shave areas where they put the sticky pads on. Now let me step back real quick. They put you under, so I can't attest to whether or not they use the paddles or not. They did place pads on me on the front and on my back, and apparently when they send that signal through, it goes through from the front and then rebounds off of the back, and that's why the pads are off the back, on the back also. So yeah, the areas where they put the pads, they did have to shave.
So it's like lightning almost, where it connects like currents or whatever through your body.
Yeah, it's a current that they're shooting through. But now, that being said, did they use the paddles? Yeah, possibly.
Now, I will tell you on a side note here to get everyone laughing so we can get this back up and running. The other day, so I take testosterone shots and I do twice a week. Okay. So on Saturday, I went to give myself one. I was doing it in my quads, right? No big deal. I do it all the time. Well, stick it in, do it. And I pull it out and it's like out of the movies. I've never seen this before, but it like shot like 6 feet, like a stream of blood. I hit an artery and every heartbeat, this was like, it went to Kelly's sink. It went in the bathtub. I'm like, and it's a shot. I mean, it's a tiny minuscule hole. So it didn't take a lot to plug it up, but like my pants are all red. Bailey comes in and it's like, oh, runs out, gets Kelly. Everyone's like afraid I'm dying. I'm like, look, it's just a tiny hole. They're like, that's a tiny hole. So anyways, I just took a Kleenex and it stopped. But I'm just telling you now that I'm not giving myself a shot there anymore. I don't know what I did, but
are they like EpiPens? Is that what they are? Or are they the actual pre-filled syringe?
Neither. So it's a vial. It actually, like, I feel like if you were an avid heroin user, this is your kit that would arrive in the mail. You get a bunch of syringes, a bunch of needles, and a vial. And basically you just every couple of days you do your thing and you inject yourself. And so no issues until Saturday. Why testosterone?
Yeah.
Oh, so on the scale, so for those who ever gotten like hormones tested, it's very weird. So like estrogen and testosterone have this crazy range. It goes from 325, I think it's like 250 actually. Doctors, please correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think it's like 250 is normal, all the way up to 1200 is normal in that range. So it's insane, right? So like
that seems like a lot.
It's insane is what it is. Even my doctor was like, yeah, they do this because they're not really sure where the optimum is. So I came in at 325 and they're like, look, you'll be fine the rest of your life if you do this. But because you're an athlete and you want to do all these things, if you up it, you'll feel better overall. And so I did it, I think in March, maybe February, I started something like that. And originally I did like a cream and I was like, well, let's just try the shot. So I switched over the shot. My latest blood work, I'm up it to 575. And I will tell you, I mean, I literally, like, for instance, it made such a difference. I felt like a 20-year-old again. Like I did push-ups. I had muscle the next day. Like it wasn't even sore. It was crazy what it did. So I'm whatever, if you want to go look into it, please do talk to your doctor. But it is the weirdest thing because I've always been like skeptical of it. But it was I mean, it's not like weight loss in terms of, it's a gradual thing. I mean, I noticed results probably within, I'd say a week. I felt different all the way around. It was crazy.
So how long do you have to give yourself these shots?
I think indefinitely. I don't know.
Interesting. Okay.
But it is funny because the package comes, in fact, I'll go grab it to show everyone here because you guys can get a kick out of this. Just see the size of the bag, all the needles and everything it comes with, just for shits and giggles. I'll be right back. You guys talk.
All right.
He's crazy.
I'm getting tested for that first week of June.
Are you really?
Yeah, they're going to run my testosterone and see where I'm at.
Are you just going to your regular general doctor to get it all tested?
Yeah, I'm going in for my checkup beginning of June. When I saw him last, I said, hey, next time we do the checkup, can we test for testosterone? He said, yeah, absolutely.
And do they normally just run that whenever they run all your blood work?
No, you have to request it. So I had to request it in this case.
Interesting. Okay.
But it's the same thing for like women and your hormones, because the flip side, the thing I learned yesterday, which I didn't know, this blew me away. When you take testosterone, if your body's not using it all, so like, let's say my body could only use the 325 or whatever the number. If you get more than that, it changes the estrogen in your body. I did not know that. That like blew me away. Like your body will convert it to estrogen. And she goes, you can always tell men that are on testosterone, it's not working because they'll have very sensitive nipples. I was like, what? She's like, that's how you tell. She's like, if you ever talk to your friends and they're like, man, my chest is just feeling really sensitive lately. It's like, are you on testosterone? You may want to lower your dose because your body is not dealing with it. But so, I mean, I'm not kidding. They give you this like, tons of needles. I have tons. And that's a syringe. Then you get all these needles. Let's see here. Where is it? And they're, for those that are wondering, they're 20 gauge needles. Hang on. Are they 20, 25 and 20 gauge? So here's the difference. You definitely want the smaller needle. So 25 is the one you want to go with because the larger the needle, the bigger the hole, obviously. So smaller.
So whenever you were bleeding so bad, which one did you use?
I did use the 25. I wasn't paying attention because it just reached in the bag, getting it. I mean, it was the weirdest. It took a second to stop. You literally just clog it and then it stopped. But I will tell you that probably that was Saturday and it's Wednesday now. So I'm feeling it now. It doesn't hurt at all, but it was still hurting me yesterday.
So do you keep, I guess, the liquid in the refrigerator?
No. So it's stable. So like you can keep it at just about any temperature. It doesn't have to be cold or hot. In fact, I don't think you're supposed to keep it cold at all. So
you just have a vial full of it and then
yeah, I used it today and it was garbage day. So I took it out, but it's, it's a typical, like, I don't know, little vial thing. But it is very weird because I felt like, you kind of feel like a doctor afterwards because you're just like, you pull it out, you inject it, you flick the top to get all the air bubbles out. It's hilarious. But I highly recommend it. It was one of those things that I was always skeptical of, but they're like, look, let's just try it. There's no harm. And it has been a wild ride. So Eric,
I was telling Kim when he walked away that I'm getting tested first week of June.
Dude, congratulations. I think you'll like it.
Awesome.
And you'll find that it may actually help with weight loss, because it affected even my metabolism too.
Nice.
So how often do you have to give yourself this shot?
Twice a week. I do it Saturdays and Wednesdays.
Ew. Okay.
I mean, it doesn't don't know how to describe it. It's not a painful process. Like I don't mind shots to begin with. Now it is weird the very first time you do it because you're watching yourself do it. It is weird, but until Saturday, I had no issue. And then I will tell you, I was a little apprehensive today when I gave it to myself. Yes.
Well, and see, and I do my MS their injections, and they're like little EpiPens. Whenever I first started doing them, Ted actually did it, and I just like freaked out. Needles are not my thing, which I should. I have had so many shots my whole life. I've had spinal taps and cortisone injections, all sorts of stuff, even the Botox injections. And yeah, but now I
let my wife do it.
Well, see, in the first, that's how it was. And then now I do it myself. It's easy.
I see.
So now, when we were going through fertility, when my wife was going through fertility.
No, you were part of that.
Yeah. So she had to take progesterone shots every evening.
Every day?
Every night she took progesterone shots leading up to the embryo transfer. She would get the shot ready, and it was very thick. So she would try to warm it up a little bit as much as she could, like hold it in her palm or something like that, because it was a thick serum. But one night she handed it to me, and I came over to give it to her, and she didn't screw the needle on all the way. So when I went to shoot, it popped off, and all the liquid went in my eyes.
Oh God.
And she's like, and so I start going, my eyes. She's yelling. She goes, what's going on? I'm like, the stuff's in my eyes. And she goes, the needle's still in my ass. And I'm like, yeah, but the stuff's in my eyes. I can't get you. And I wish we would have had Ring cameras at the time and still had video of me running around the house with this stuff in my eyes and her with a needle hanging out of her ass. And it would have been great.
That was my next question. If she got it in the stomach or in the butt?
Yeah, she got it in the butt.
Now, I mean, did it burn? I mean,
Hell yeah, it burned.
I don't have progesterone. I mean, that's a hardcore hormone. So I mean, did you all of a sudden get sensitive nipples too, or no?
No, I did not. Not that I recall.
And you didn't go blind, so bonus.
I did not go blind.
Did you have to go to the doctor and tell him, or did you flush your eye, or what did you do?
No, I just went and flushed my eyes out and then came and got the needle out of her butt.
Now, did you have to go back and re-inject?
Yes, I had to do it again.
She didn't pull the needle out herself?
No, I wouldn't get the needle.
Or did you just leave it in and re-screw it?
No, I went to a new needle. But I screwed this one on myself.
I think that'd be the last time you gave me a shot ever.
Yeah, we had trust issues after that. So.
I could only imagine.
You had a new safety word? I got you. No means no. No. Yes.
No, I don't think that was the safety word. I think it was probably worse.
Oh my God, progesterone in your eye?
Yeah, it was funny.
Oh, that is a story I've never heard. That is incredible. And I'm sure at the time it was not funny, but I mean, that is a classic story.
I wish we had Ring cameras at the time and had video of it. Trust me.
Just seeing you be like, oh, because I'm sure you get two things going on. One, you got the burn, and then you got two, the stun of like, what the heck just happened to me?
Yeah.
And then she's screaming because she still has a needle in her butt.
Oh, it would have gone viral on TikTok if it had happened today.
Would have gone just viral. You would be on a talk show somewhere. Yes. Yes, you would be on a talk show. Yes. But that's an incredible story. And so as you go through your health journey here,
yep.
And we talked about milestones and everything else. One of the things we love to talk about in the show is advice you can give other people in terms of tips, tricks, and you've given quite a few examples of things that you did to sustain your journey and that you're going to continue doing. But do you have anything in addition to this that you would love to leave people with in terms of either advice or things that you would have done differently, lessons learned or something like that to ensure that their journey is even more smooth than yours was?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've already touched on a few things. The biggest things that I would say is just don't give up everything cold turkey. Don't try to go to the extreme. All right. Take baby steps with it if you need to. If you need to just this week, I'm going to cut out sodas. Next week, I'm going to cut this. Then do that. But bigger than that is don't get frustrated. You're not going to see results in the places you want to see results immediately. And don't give up if you're not seeing the results on the scale immediately. For me, like I said, some weeks it'll be 3 pounds. Some weeks it'll be 1 pound. On the weeks that it's 1 pound, I can probably look back over the previous week and realize that, you know what, hey, I didn't get out and walk a couple of days last week, or I didn't exercise as much. And so that's why it was only 1, not 3. So
can I ask you a question on that note?
Yeah.
So you did weigh in weekly?
I every Monday morning, yeah. And I've got the scale that I have has Wi-Fi and it's connected to an app on my phone. And so it tracks and I don't know if y'all can see this on the phone here or not. I'll pull it up just to see. But you can go tracking. So you can go all the way back to when I started this. Can you? I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it or not. No, it's not coming up.
No.
Okay, sorry. All right. Anyway, so but it goes all the way back to when I first started this, and you can just see the line, the line going down as I've lost the weight. I've showed it to Justin before; he's seen it, and it's pretty awesome. But listen, I mean, if you don't see the results, if it's 1 pound 1 week, or if you don't lose any, don't give up. All right, adjust what you're doing that week, exercise a little bit more, or adjust your portions a little bit, and just make changes. Stick with it. You're going to see the results, but it's going to be over a period of time. It's not going to be immediate.
So on the weeks that you only saw possibly 1 pound, did you notice a difference in the way your pants fit? Because a lot of the times, even though you're not seeing a lot of pounds fall, you're losing inches. So could you feel a difference in your clothes? Do you remember?
Absolutely. And it took a couple of months to really start to notice a change in my clothes. I noticed it in areas, first I think it was my wrist. And that was like with my Apple Watch.
Interesting.
I go to a certain hole on my Apple Watch every time. Well, all of a sudden I realized it was loose. And so I had to go to the next hole. And that was the first place I noticed it. And then I noticed it a little bit in my neck and some other places. I didn't notice it in my waist and in my clothes until it was a good 6 to 8 weeks in before I really noticed it. And then I realized at that point, it wasn't just my pants, but it was my shirts too. I was kind of in that sloppy stage where the clothes that I had been wearing were fitting sloppily now. I don't know if that's a word. I just made that up, but
it works.
But I wear a suit to the office. All right, my suits all of a sudden were baggy and sloppy. But if I went down to the suit below, it was still a little tight. So I was kind of in that sloppy stage where I couldn't go down yet. And I was like, well, I'm not going to go to the tailor right now because I'm just going to continue to lose weight, hopefully.
That is so
cool. You notice it. And then, you know what? When other people notice it, you're grinning from ear to ear, and I've had people at office go, are you losing weight? You're looking good. And that's just, it makes you feel good.
So have you guys been on your cruise?
We did go on the cruise, yeah.
That was just like 2 months ago, right?
It was, yeah. You want to hear the bad news?
Oh,
my son didn't meet the height requirement for the zip line.
What?
Yeah.
Did you look at him and say, I should have been eating more this whole time?
Poor thing. He wanted to do the zip line with Dad, and we get on there and we go to the zip line and we're all excited because Dad makes the weight, and we get up there and they're like, oh, he's not going to be able to go, sir.
Oh, no.
The look on his face. Oh my God. I thought I was going to die.
That is devastating. And the worst part is ziplining. It must be a weight thing because height doesn't really matter in there. But I'm assuming a certain weight has to be on there because you're using force, right, to go. So
yeah,
poor Maddox. I'm sorry, dude. Well,
you'll have to make sure to take him ziplining.
We will definitely go ziplining when he hits that height and weight requirement that he needs to do that. But I mean, listen, there's other things that we did on the cruise, so we had a good time. We've got another vacation coming up here in a few weeks, so we've already got some stuff planned for that one.
That's exciting. And see, he wanted you to ride the zip line. And when it comes down to it, you started this journey and look at where you're at, and you couldn't even ride the zip line. But look how far you've come. That is incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. And to hear your son tell you he's proud of what you're doing, that's enough of motivation for me.
That's going to make you feel good.
And note to everyone out there, when you see someone doing this and you see them putting the effort in, make sure you're reinforcing it because it means a lot. It's a difficult journey, even when you're excited, and it's important to recognize it. So cheers to your family for recognizing it. Cheers to your friends and anyone else that is going through this or whatever. Please let them know that what they're doing is you're noticing a result, because that's just going to reinforce those good behaviors and it's going to inspire them to keep going, which is what we all want.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So,
well, and just like you said, if you don't see your scale move, don't give up. Keep coming back and showing up for yourself, because you're not always going to see that scale move, but you'll notice how your clothes fit.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, Eric, I want to say thank you so much for your time today again. And again, let's recap here. This is round number 2 with him.
I was just about to say that.
This was also a in and out with Kim, not planned.
Again, technology, right?
And I still love you came on and were like, but this is 2,500 people lost it. I'm like, you mean you?
No, I even screenshotted it. I was like, are you serious? Their timing is terrible. Or
it was meant to be.
Impeccable timing.
But again, you couldn't have done it better. Seriously, because he was in the middle of talking. You just kind of fell away, and it was a seamless transition this time. And there wasn't, yelling and everything else. So this was great. So,
well, all I could think was, I'm going to get back in the queue and Justin's not going to let me back in because, it takes some time to get everything going. I'm going, oh. Ted walked out and he goes, well, maybe you guys should stop doing remote recording. And I'm like, we may have to come down to that. I mean, that's ridiculous. It makes it a little difficult.
Well, regardless, thank you both. And most importantly, Eric, we will have you back on in the not so distant future, maybe later in the summer to talk about your milestones that you've hit. And I'm holding out hope that there's this summer some ziplining somewhere.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll work on it. We got to get some weight on him now so he can do that. But yeah, no, we'll definitely be back for round 3. And I appreciate the recognition from you guys.
And I will tell you, I'm proud of you because it takes a lot to even take that first step. And you did it and you didn't give up and you're still going. And I'm proud of you. It's exciting. And I'm glad I get to watch this journey along the way.
Well, thank you.
And we'll have to do lunch again.
Yep. I look forward to seeing you guys again soon.
And that concludes today's episode of the Fitness
Manifesto. I know you guys enjoyed it.
And Kim, I want to say thank you to you and to our audience for making this podcast what it is.
Yes, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys.
And stay tuned for the next episode.